Okay, hello, welcome back to another game of chess. We're playing e4 as per usual. Our opponent responds with e5, so we're going to go full knight to f3 here, hoping, praying in fact, that we get to play the beautiful Scotch. Hell yeah, baby. They take, we're going to take here, and are we going to see, we see queen f6, okay. So the main move in this position, I believe, is bishop c5. This is the classical variation of the Scotch. Then after bishop e3, queen f6 is the natural follow-up. So I'm thinking if queen f6, bishop e3, and then bishop c5. There we go. We transpose into the position known as the classical variation of the Scotch, which just so happens to be the battleground on which my favourite opening is played, the Blumenfeld Scotch. Now, knight b5 here is a freaky move. We open up the bishop onto this bishop. I mean, I should just clarify, the main move is just to play c3. Relatively passive, you know, you just stabilize the center. They probably play knight g7, maybe you could go bishop c4, etc., and you just keep developing. Knight b5 here immediately threatens a fork, and after they take, we have to recapture. If we fork here, king here, cash in on the rook, we do get checkmated, which kind of sucks, and so we voluntarily trash our own pawn structure. Now, generally our opponent can go here, they can go here, or they go, and I'll do this in red because of the blunder that it is, queen takes b2. Now this looks like a free pawn, it also looks like it comes with tempo on a rook. Both of these things are true, except knight c3 here, and I'm threatening rook b1, trapping that queen. Where would that queen go? Let's say, for instance, if they play, I don't know, a move to defend this fork here, like they play king d8, rook b1 will trap the queen, and in fact taking on b2 is a terrible move. Now they do find queen b4, which is the only move to not allow the queen to be trapped. You've got to get on this diagonal here. However, we can then take on c7, forking the king and the rook, and then after king d8, it is important to play queen d2, because if we take the rook too early, then our opponent is going to be able to take this with check, and we're actually not going to have the compensation, or rather, sorry, they're going to have plenty of compensation. This opening is so good. It is so good. There's one win. You know what? We don't need to analyze that because that was a perfect game. Let's move on to the next. Let's move on to the next win. Okay, we've got a little Alekhine's defense going on here. Notice how I said next win, not next game. b5. Oh, Sullivan gambit. Please take my pawn. Imagine we... Queen a5. I love my repertoire sometimes. My repertoire consists of extremely dangerous, probably dubious, but also very trappy lines. This is the beautiful O'Sullivan gambit. We give the check, we hit the bishop, they defend and block, but alas, we can take that knight there on c3. They go for a little desperado tactic here, because, I mean, if they immediately recapture, then of course we could just take that bishop on b5. Now, the question of whether to take with the bishop or with the knight, I don't think it really matters. It would be kind of more natural to develop my knight to c6, but actually I think my bishop belongs on this diagonal, so I'm going to take with the knight and probably play bishop b7. They of course had to take the knight there, and we have a bishop for a couple of pawns, as well as the fact that we can now play a pretty disgusting idea of bishop a6. And because our opponent doesn't have a light square bishop, we just cut this diagonal now and say, how on earth are you going to castle a kingside? We're just posing further problems for our opponent. Maybe I should have used the opportunity to just take here without this being an option. But honestly, I think we'll just play e6. I mean, c5 is brutally defended. They drop the knight back to then go here to then facilitate castling. I mean, opponent is clearly in a dire situation, but I'm just going to take. They can take. I'm going to play bishop b4, and these bishops are going to be slicing. Again, the play's just a bit slow for my opponent. We have the bishop for a couple of pawns. I mean, there's not a whole lot of compensation for my opponent going on here, and we can just take here now. And in fact, take here now. I will happily saunter into this endgame. You know what? We will saunter into this endgame here, and then just play like probably knight b6. Honestly, we could look at this square. We could bring the rook to the c file. Knight b6 also probably helps prevent infiltrations along the b file. I mean, hell yeah, let's go. Rook c8. Let's see what our opponent's got here. Bring the king up and in, like, okay. I could castle, but that does just seem to be bringing my king over to the g file when that's not strictly necessary. I'd actually rather play king d7 and just slowly start to bring my king towards the center of the board. I mean, this is an endgame. Now they've played c4. I guess I could have blockaded that. Maybe that would have been a good idea, actually. I don't know why I didn't even consider that. But we can just lift the rook here and stack. And I do think that, you know, we are now just threatening to take this. If you push, we can now cement the knight on d5. And this is now just an unassailable piece, a completely and utterly unassailable piece. And I think it's probably a wise idea for my opponent to get on the b file, but then I might even bring my king to c6. And I do... Oh, what the hell? You're not going to try and claim the b file there? I mean, if you don't, I will. Thank you very much. Hell yeah. Let's definitely do that. And then let's definitely, whoa, not do that. That would be extremely bad. Instead, honestly, I'm gonna just take this and play play king c6. I mean, you can't like infiltrate like this. We can now go here, and I guess if you take and they want me to take and give them like a bunch of connected passed pawns. I don't think that's very likely. I think I'm gonna just play a6 here and say this rook is no longer able to remain on b5. It is possible for them to go here, but that kind of just seems like they trap their own rook. I could even play like rook a7 and just actually say your rook has no moves. So of course they take. We take here. They don't have an entry point for the king now, which is actually quite nice. We can bring our king in, and in fact, this is going to be a pretty sweet endgame. We're going to be able to zugzwang our opponent. I mean, they only have pawns here. You know what? I might even just wait with my knight, because you can't make any progress here at all. And we're just going to make this king move and concede the d5 square, put the knight on b5 and go and take this pawn. I like that. I like that a lot. Let's go in here. And let's just go back. I'm actually just going to wait. I mean, I'm just going to run them out of moves. Here. What are you going to do here? Genuinely, what are you going to do? I can oscillate my knight back and forth for as long as I like, as they just run out of their plenitude of pawn moves on the king side. I'm just gonna I mean, just for the flex, I'm just going to bounce back and forth with the knight until they run out of moves here. A real long-lasting zugzwang until they have to move the king at some point, conceding this square, and then we can walk in and grab this. I mean, if you take, I take here. Like, we're going back. This is so funny. This is so funny. We're gonna keep doing this. There was actually, what do you mean draw? Bro, shut up. What are you doing? I am a little scared actually, because there is a way to forcibly create a passed pawn with a 3-on-3 like this, and I feel like through. Okay, well, they don't go for it anyway. We get our plan that eventually has culminated in our king stepping forward. Now we can pick this pawn up, of course, and we will probably just start chopping off all of the pawns. Yeah, it's not there's not much left to be done here. I guess I might just play a cheeky little h6 just to prevent the easy progression here. If you push, I'll just take and then take like this. Here, honestly, I'm gonna take with check, just keeping stuff nice. Dude, do we have like a freaky mate? Surely somewhere there's a freaky checkmate. Let's just take with the knight, I guess. You have a surprisingly small amount of moves here. I'm just gonna go like this. I mean, okay, we're just gonna take the pawn. I don't know why is my opponent not resigned? What is this? Seriously, what is this? Should we try and mate them with a bishop and knight? That would be kind of funny. That would be kind of stylish. They might resign here. I think they resign here. No? Wait, because they're already here. Hold on. We've already got them in this box. So they oscillate back and forth between here until I get my knight over to deliver a check on this square and then play bishop g2 mate. So here, here. Wait, hold on. 1, 2, 3 moves gets me there. Here, here, here. Here. I need to waste a move with this knight somehow. Oh no, you know what I'll do? You know what I'll do here? Is I'll play this. They go here. I play this. That's stalemate. I need this. Okay. What I've reasoned here is that the knight needs to reach this square, or in fact this square, in an even amount of moves. And it's an odd amount of moves, because my knight's currently on a dark square. Hold on, I can't change the parity of that though, because the knight just changes from dark to light. Dark to light. So I can't actually, any amount of moves that gets this knight to this light square here will be odd. That's some interesting reasoning for you right there. Okay, so instead, wait, how do I do this? Because I want to do this cleanly. I think what we do is go here, here, then I'm going to go here, then here, then here, waste a move, then we get to go check and checkmate. That was pretty fun. I don't know if you guys get the reasoning there, but if a knight has to go from... I'm kind of... I don't know, it's 1 AM right now. I'm having a bit of an epiphany moment. But if a knight has to oscillate between light square, dark square, light square, dark square, then the parity, or that's to say whether it's even or odd, has to remain invariant to reach any given square on the board. Is that true? That feels really unobvious, but that's true, isn't it? Hold on. So if a knight starts on b8 and it ends up on g3... it must have made an even amount of moves to get there. Okay, maybe to some of you this is obvious. I just never thought of this before. I'm sure there were other ways we could have made the waiting move there, but cashing in on the pawn, then making the waiting move with the pawn to offset the oscillation of this king. I don't know. I think that's really sweet. Okay, so here we are on the analysis. That first game genuinely needs no analysis. It was just some opening prep all the way until the final move where we won the queen. They resigned. Hell yeah, perfect game. But in this game, they fell for an opening trap. Now, in fact, instead of playing knight c3, they should play knight d2 to block this, which is unobvious, but after here, they get to play the 4-king move c4, which is then going to be able to win back some material. Although even so, it's still not ideal to give me queen a5. However, they do choose to go for this. I then put the bishop on a6. We go for a massive trade, and this was a little inaccurate because, I mean, our bishop was really strong. However, I just thought, you know what, if I've just got a knight here, if we get to just trade everything off, yeah, with this a6 move, trade the rook off. Yeah, we got this construction here where we then decided to do the most brutal Zugzwang. Just look at this knight. Look at this pony dance, and then we just go pick up all the pawns, of course. And I mean, the rest is absolutely history. Promoting to a bishop, here, here, here. And then I'm sure there was a way we could have made like a waiting move with the bishop or just adjusted the king a little bit. But I kind of liked leaving this here just as a casket for our opponent's king. And the fun, like, logical reasoning there, a little bit puzzly, a little bit abstract. I mean, it's not what you think when you think chess puzzle, but it's definitely fun of trying to offset the parity of the knight move. Anyway, with a little pawn adjustment, tempting the king back here, or forcing the king back here, of course, and then knight f3 here and mate. I think that is some extremely, almost algorithmic technique there. Okay, quick intermission from me editing this video 2 days later. I'm sure you can see that I'm wearing something different. I'm actually in a different place, and I have an extremely sharp skin fade. Now, although you may think the display of this haircut merits such an interlude, I mean, I agree, but this is not the main point of the interlude. I'd just like to clarify that this whole thing, like, I'm sure some of you are sitting there thinking you don't need to mate with the bishop in the corner. That's just something that, I mean, it was 1 a.m. while I was recording. I didn't even think about that. What I could have done instead of taking the pawn was just go here, to access this square. The king moves, then we give the check, the king comes here, and we checkmate with the knight here. This is, of course, a slightly more efficient checkmate. As you can see in the video, I kind of just decided that I want to give the check with the knight here, then checkmate with the bishop in the corner. I just want to acknowledge that that is not necessary at all, but I kind of think it was more fun just to lead us to an interesting thought about the parity of knight moves onto different color squares. And to me, it's just pretty funny that after we do go for this taking the pawn, moving away, pushing the pawn to a5, any sequence of knight moves on the board, as long as we don't go past the 50 move rule, from this position, we can move this knight as many times as we'd like, and as long as we eventually decide to come to this square, it will still work. But yeah, just a brief intermission to acknowledge that the more efficient mate would have in fact been to give the check with the bishop first, draw the king back here, and then checkmate here, or even checkmate here. I mean, these would have also been beautiful. I quite like the checkmate in the corner with the bishop. Anyway, this was just a bit of fun. Hopefully it was entertaining. Okay, back to Will with the terrible trim. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. These weren't, you know, exactly hard-fought games, but hopefully they were really satisfying to watch. I think this is definitely worth posting as a video because, I don't know, I think that kind of reasoning speaks to how intertwined chess is with mathematical, logical, you know, game theoretic. I love this stuff. It's what I'm studying at university. It's, of course, what I'm doing a YouTube channel on. I, in fact, might launch a second YouTube channel concerning maths and philosophy. Anyway, who knows? I digress. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know how you found this video in the comments, and I'll be back with another video soon. Goodbye.